Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, a special edition of the show on the road in Elkhart. We'll look at the rebound of the RV industry and the growth of other sectors in the community. We'll spotlight quality of place initiatives aimed to attract top talent, as well as a living lab designed to educate the next generation of Elkhart's workforce. And Elkhart's mayor joins an insiders panel to look at challenges and opportunities in the years to come. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Elkhart is known as the RV capital of the world. During the recession, that industry took a major hit, and Elkhart's jobless rate skyrocketed to one of the highest in the nation. Now, things have turned around. Lippert Components President Scott Mirenis and Furrion Director of Specialty Vehicle Sales Chase Healy joined Gary Dick to talk about the rebound.
I think your two companies representative of what's going on in the industry, and that's growth. And first of all, I'll start with you, Scott. At Lippert, 11,000 plus employees. You've been on a growth tear. After 5 years ago, you were experiencing some tremendous turnover. You had some real challenges, but things have certainly turned around.
Yep, certainly turnover. One of the things that we know is employees quit their boss, and from frontline leadership training to our team members is one of the key things that we did a few years ago to really turn that around. Some of the other things that we focused on was easier to understand pay systems, cleaner break rooms and bathrooms, as well as more employee recognition.
Well, give us a thumbnail of the company. You've really grown through acquisitions, 55 acquisitions, a lot of action there. Give us a thumbnail of the company.
Yeah, so acquisitions is a big part of the company, but content, what we call content per vehicle, or increasing our revenue per available RV, is a key strategy of ours. So how do we sell our customers more products? So that comes out of organic growth, taking market share from our competitors, R&Ding more products coming out of our own group at our company. So when you add up all those things, acquisitions, content, new products, it fuels anywhere from 10 to 20% annualized growth over the last 15 to 20 years.
Chase, talk about Furrion, newer on the scene, about 12-year-old company, but really in a growth mode now. And last year you opened, and I think this again reflective of the industry, an innovation center, U.S. Innovation Center right here in Elkhart.
Yes, our Innovation Center and Institute of Technology was launched in May of 2017 as a platform for growth here in Elkhart, Indiana.
Talk about some of the higher end components and different things you're putting into the vehicles.
Absolutely. There are new technologies that are available today, such as lithium ion and flexible solar technology for people that would like to RV off the grid. There are new communication technologies and audio-visual systems that we utilize for our different audio-visual systems to be able to speak with one another.
Speaking of technology, and first to you, Chase, talk about the prosthesis. We talked about that before. It's really not directly related to the RV business, but
yes, prosthesis is the first exobionic mech racing suit. It was designed and developed a couple of years ago by a man named John Tippett. It is completely 100% lithium ion powered, and it is completely controlled by human movement. The goal behind this is one day once we have this one finalized, once our pilot training has ran its course, to invent and start a sport that is based around this suit being able to go off-road and run and race and rock climb and what have you.
Wow. And Scott, speaking of technology, Lippert's using augmented reality in some of your prototyping as well.
Augmented reality, lean manufacturing, lots of investment in automation. We really believe that things like robotics and any type of future automation systems would be a part of our manufacturing facility.
As you look at workforce, it's an issue for companies everywhere in all industries. You're looking at diversifying, maybe geographically anyway, your employee base or where they come from.
Yeah, so very simply, we look at adjacent counties or cities next to Elkhart as a way to slightly diversify geographically our workforce. It doesn't solve the overarching need that we have, that there's just not enough people in Elkhart County to fuel the type of industry levels that we're currently at.
You're in a growth mode as well.
Absolutely. Roughly today we have 20 different positions that are open. We encourage anyone interested in those positions to check out our LinkedIn page. We are sourcing the best engineers, the best marketing people nationally across the country. So we're really excited about the growth we're seeing.
Furrion and Lippert, two great examples of growth in the RV industry, which obviously we're in the RV capital of the world right here in Elkhart County. Scott Marinas, also Chase Seeley, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Still to come, we spotlight a hidden Elkhart educational gem and ongoing efforts to diversify the economy. But first, the $300 million Elkhart River District is well on its way to becoming a live, work, play destination. From an aquatic center to retail and housing, city and county leaders hope it will become a talent magnet. Dave Weaver and Bob Deputy with the River District implementation team came on set to discuss the massive project.
Let's talk about the River District project, because this really can be a transformational project for Elkhart. How did it come about? What sparked it?
Yeah, we absolutely see this as generational transformation for Elkhart. What really sparked this, we get asked that question a lot of things, and there are about 30 items that, but for these 30 items lining up, the River District or the Aquatic Center wouldn't take place. But the Aquatic Center in Elkhart, fourth largest natatorium in the United States, a huge private-public partnership between the Community Foundation, local leadership, the city, school system, and Beacon Health System. It's going to provide absolute state-of-the-art fitness and aquatic center. Coming off the heels of that in regional cities, we saw an additional $70 million of redevelopment deployed in Elkhart, deployed in Elkhart. And we thought it was important for us to tie a plan around about $165 million of redevelopment.
All right, let's talk about the project itself. Big project, multi-use, multi-dimensional project. Housing is a big key there to get some of those people to stay here. Talk about the project and some of the real highlights.
Well, I think one of the highlights is you've already got some housing going up now. Approximately, 370 new units are under construction right now. And then you've got a new supermarket that's starting to be built. So those are a real plus. The whole area, the property's been acquired, so it will go out for bid for people who want to come in and build housing, residential, commercial, even office facilities. And they've set standards so that this will be a very walkable, classy place and an aspirational place. People want to live, work, and play.
A lot of communities around the state would like to do something like this, perhaps, but they don't. It doesn't get done. As we were talking off camera before, you said here in Elkhart it became a deal like, why not Elkhart? And the community kind of said it can be done here.
Yeah, absolutely. Elkhart's a place that's known for its entrepreneurial spirit, its spirit of getting things done. And luckily, the stars aligned where a group was able to get together. The city was in a place where it was financially strong enough to invest $30 million in public infrastructure just in the River District. We have two rivers downtown. We have zero access to those rivers downtown. We have a river walk that's disconnected. We're going to make it contiguous, 1.5 miles around the River District. Put in walkable streets. We're going to bring all of the development up to those walkable streets, connected pathways, take out the Lowhead Dam and actually activate the riverway so that it can be used for recreational purposes. The city's in for a lot of money, private investments in for a lot. We're here to do something transformational.
We only have 20 seconds left, but you're going to send an RFP out right very soon for development around the Aquatic Center?
In August, about 10 acres we've assembled around the Aquatic Center. We're looking for about 300,000 square feet of mixed-use residential, commercial real estate development.
Very good. Dave Weaver, Bob Deputy, thank you both very much. Exciting project here in Elkhart. I know we'll be following it in the weeks and months ahead.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Later in the podcast, making Elkhart about more than RVs and a regional approach to economic growth. But now, can a living laboratory teaching children about science help solve a worker shortage? The Ethos Innovation Center says yes. Executive Director Patsy Baylor and Elkhart Community School Superintendent Mark Mao take you inside.
Patsy, talk about, if you would, because a lot of this was your vision many years ago. You were a former Bear employee.
Yes, started at Miles
and started
and then at
this
Bear.
whole thing. How did the idea come about?
Well, one of the things that Bear was realizing was that there were fewer and fewer students who were following STEM careers, were pursuing that, and they were looking to start developing and enlarging a talent pool for employees. And so they had asked if I would go out and do some research and see what kind of programming would really lend itself to encouraging students to follow those kind of careers. And so we put together a model and brought that back to them and shared that with the Bear Foundation.
Bear ultimately left the Elkhart area, but you've transformed this former Bear facility into what is now 100,000 square feet. It's amazing space. Talk about some of the assets that are really at the Ethos Center.
Well, our core business is to manage science materials for area schools and then to provide the professional development training that teachers need in order to teach those science kits. And then we have wraparound programs, if you will. Robotics is our most popular program. It's a kindergarten through 12th grade program where students can come in and be involved in the first programming component. And so they will design and program and build robots that will then interact on a field. We also have underwater robotics and drones.
Wow. It goes on and on. Mark, from a school standpoint,
right.
You're interim superintendent. You were superintendent for 10 years, been with the district for 42 years. What kind of a benefit and impact does the Ethos Center have for education in Elkhart County?
Well, it's a huge benefit, Gary, and from a school standpoint, having the expertise at Ethos, particularly in the areas of critical thinking and problem solving, those are areas that impact not only STEM education, but education in general. And for a school system to have that resource next door, if you will, is a great opportunity.
When you talk about problem solving, certainly the job of the school system is to provide, to produce talent in a sense.
Right.
And whether that talent goes on to a 4-year or 2-year educational institution, or maybe it's directly into the workforce, Ethos Center, I assume, helps in that process.
Well, it does, and it helps students regardless of where they're headed. The ability to solve problems, work collaboratively, and think critically, we know is important for employers in the Elkhart area and really across the nation.
I think it was a community effort that really has come together to make the Ethos Center a reality. $8.2 million. That's a big number, but the community is rallying to the cause.
The community has been just tremendous in providing so much funding for this and support. Like you said, the project was 8.2, and we're about 85% of the way through with that particular project. And so the generosity of the community has really made this happen.
And you're looking at perhaps an additional expansion in the future.
We do have 14 acres, and so we're trying to cast the vision for what those needs of the community might be met with other expansions.
Well, it truly is a unique STEM experience right here in Elkhart County. The Ethos Center, Patsy Baylor, the executive director of the center, also Mark Mao, the interim superintendent, Elkhart Community Schools. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, Elkhart and its neighbors are working together toward growth and a focus on identity, pride, and quality of place. But first, there's more than the RV industry in Elkhart, and that's key to the region's growth in the coming years. Welch Packaging CEO Scott Welch and ChemCrest CEO Amish Shah discuss their Elkhart growth stories.
Amish, I'm going to start with you and ChemCrest. Your story is an interesting one. You're the son of an immigrant, took up family, second-generation business. Talk a little bit about ChemCrest.
Yeah, so, go back to my father's story. He immigrated here from India, of all places. In India, he came across Indiana, because Indiana and India are so similar in name. So he immigrated here. He started a business out of a garage, acquired ChemCrest in '79, and then out of college, I started working at ChemCrest.
And this company has grown rather dramatically, 600 employees, about a dozen locations. Distribution is a big part of what you do. You also manufacture some.
Yeah, so we really partner with the automotive industry in their supply chain. So we do everything from parts, chemicals, and accessories, ship directly to dealers, and really make sure that cars can continue to run on the roads when you go to a dealer to get it serviced.
Yeah. let's talk about Welch Packaging, family-owned operation. Mid-'80s, right? You date back?
Started in 1985.
4 employees. You're now over 1,000. That's a lot of growth.
Very fortunate.
Yeah, talk about the company, kind of the ideas, corrugated box business.
We're in the custom manufacturing of corrugated boxes, so we try to focus on local companies, work strong on relationships, try to solve people's problems and lower their costs through engineering and ideas, more so than just the price of the product. That's really been our niche, and we've been able to expand throughout the Midwest.
Where do you see growth opportunities?
Growth is being driven by customers. I mean, we're really trying to focus on where our customers are and how can we take the experience and the intellectual capital we've accumulated and share that and expand it. And we're very focused in the Midwest and trying to deal with the kind of people that we're familiar with. But that's really the catalyst, is following customers.
From your standpoint, as you look at the economy here, how would you gauge the economy?
I think the economy is strong. I think that it's more balanced than people see. I mean, obviously most of our jobs are in the RV market, but there's a lot of small manufacturing companies that produce plastic and rubber and wood and metal that people never even hear of. And so there's a lot of small manufacturing in Elkhart that supports into the RV markets, but also they diversify into industrial markets as well. So I think it's a little stronger than what people might realize and beyond just the RV market.
Let's talk about workforce. Everyone's looking for talent, trying to keep it and also attract it. Now, education is a big part of that. I know there's a focus that you have on wanting to connect with the academic community here to help solve that talent equation.
Yeah, we've got a really innovative program going on in Elkhart. You know, we've created Horizon Education Alliance. So in our area, we've got all the superintendents that come together. We've got companies like, or organizations like Ethos. I personally have been very involved in a lot of these programs to try and bring, for me, entrepreneurship programs to youth. But we really have a great platform for education.
Lemonade Day? Did you bring
Lemonade Day? Yeah,
I
heard that Scott Jones brought Lemonade Day to Indianapolis, and actually along with his wife and a few others, I said we've got to have that in Elkhart, we're 6 years into it.
That's great. A lot more than RVs going on, certainly in the Elkhart region. 2 great examples here. Scott Welch is the CEO at Welch Packaging. Amish Shah, the CEO at Kimcrest. Thank you both for being on the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Jay.
Later in the podcast, a collective effort to create vibrant communities, and our insiders look at Elkhart's challenges and opportunities. But now, regional cooperation is beginning to develop in northern Indiana. Elkhart, South Bend, Mishawaka, and Goshen have long operated on their own, but now there's an effort to work together to make the region stronger. South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership CEO Regina Emberton and Notre Dame Associate Vice President Scott Ford came on set to talk about the effort.
Regina, I'll start with you because I think the South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership is indicative of the regional cooperation equation, if you will, here, because it's relatively new on the scene. Took over from what was the Michiana Partnership just 5 years ago and really was a lead player in regional cities funding for the region.
Yeah, absolutely. So the local economic development organizations here, we have 47 towns and cities in this region, and they realized that they could be stronger working together. So initially, it was on a small scale, focusing on marketing and attraction and working on recruiting businesses to the area. That was about 2013. And in 2014, we learned of the Regional Cities Initiative, sort of the natural convening point to bring together the rest of the stakeholders who were so critical to being part of that presentation to the state and securing that $42 million grant for the region.
Are you seeing buy-in?
Yeah. We've seen it like never before here in the region, and while the grant was a catalyst for some of that, those conversations were budding and they were already underway. And I can remember one of the early meetings where we had everyone in the room talking about this grant, and they said, well, if it wasn't for the money, would we still be having this conversation? And it was a resounding yes.
Scott, your role at Notre Dame, I think, indicative of Notre Dame's role now in economic development and really engaging in the community, in the region, which really hadn't happened before. It really is happening now.
That's right. Notre Dame's role in economic development has really evolved in the last few years. But if you take a step back and you look nationally at those communities that have become hotspots for economic development, places like Austin, Texas, and Pittsburgh, Raleigh-Durham, certainly Silicon Valley, you'll see that they all have in common a global research university. And I think that a number of the moves the university has made really coincided with its emergence in research activities.
Talk about Notre Dame's role in the region in terms of economic development and the ways in which you see Notre Dame making an impact.
More specifically, again, with the expansion of research, you see facilities like the Notre Dame Turbo Machinery Lab in Ignition Park, which was a partnership with the state and the city and AEP, among many others, that's led to 40 new jobs at the sort of very high-end technical jobs in the community. And so you see new jobs and new investment that's coming through those activities.
Very good. Regina, let's talk about a number of projects, especially as it relates to regional cities funding. I know the Aquatic Center, and there are other projects, and that number I expect to grow, going on in the region. Highlight some of those.
One of the key catalyzing events was the Aquatic Center in downtown Elkhart, and that was the largest investment that the RDA made with $9 million, and it's just been a small part of that huge project, but really important. And now we see in 10 years from now, downtown Elkhart will look completely different and be transformed as really a heart of our region. So that has a spin-off with things like the Market District and the Elkhart Hotel in downtown. You know, you look across the region, there are other regional impact projects like the Innovation District in downtown South Bend, where we've got 1 million square feet of dilapidated Studebaker buildings that are being transformed into one of the Midwest's largest tech hubs. And so as you bring the density of the whole region together, we're excited to see that. Another great project that we invested in and we worked together with our friends in Northwest Indiana was related to the South Shore train. So the commuter railway between South Bend and downtown Chicago and the communities in between, and getting that to a 90-minute trip is critical to enhancing sort of the business and quality of life opportunities for our residents.
How do you see these projects, Notre Dame's engagement, the regional cooperation, all coming together to not only keep talent but attract talent to the region?
And it's in part for the recruiting talented faculty and staff. So often those recruits come in, they're part of a dual career family, and being able to find comparable opportunities at the caliber that's interesting to both of them is really vital. It's also important for attracting the researchers. They're looking at a place where they have an opportunity to commercialize their ideas and see them have an impact.
A lot going on in the region, certainly regional cooperation a part of that. The South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership and Notre Dame, two key players there. Scott Ford and Regina Imberton, thank you both, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Still to come, Elkhart's mayor joins our panel of insiders to talk about the city's vision for the future. But first, a county-wide planning effort is underway to help boost identity, pride, and quality of place in the Elkhart region. Elkhart County Convention and Visitors Bureau CEO Diana Lawson and Elkhart County Commissioner Susie Wyrick joined us to talk about the Vibrant Communities Initiative.
Diana, I'll start with you in terms of the convention and tourism business. We mentioned Jazz Fest a moment ago, the RV MH Hall of Fame and Museum. We're in here. There are a lot of assets that really are behind convention and tourism growth in the county.
We have a tremendous amount of assets in addition to the physical assets, such as this wonderful place, the RV Hall of Fame, which really supports the RV industry as well. So it really helps tell the story about our RV industry. In addition to that, we have the Heritage Trail, which is a driving tour that gets everyone out throughout our county, so that we're actually providing through the Heritage Trail and Quilt Gardens connectivity throughout the entire area, so that visitors, when they come, they can really enjoy seeing everything that we have.
What's the idea behind Vibrant?
So the idea behind Vibrant Communities is really helping people in our county understand the quality of assets that we have, and the idea that in today's world, the best word of mouth that we can have is pride of the people who live here, expressing why they choose to live here, why they want to locate a business here, that this is a great place. So it's really about, inspiring people to love the place where they live.
Susie, if you talk, a key part of the initiative is let me make sure I get this right, the Little Big Idea Grant, which really recognizes communities and ideas. Talk about the idea behind that, if you will, and some of the grants or some of the ideas that have received grants.
So the idea behind the grant is really to create a ripple effect throughout the community. And the Little Big Idea Grants are micro grants, basically up to $1,000 per recipient, and that can be a person, a group, whatever. And it's really about getting people to engage and carry that excitement throughout the area. And one of them was as simple as putting Post-its throughout a high school that said, "You are beautiful and you are great," to really kind of encourage some of that positive energy and hopefully take away some of the stress that goes along with all of the Facebook and social media issues that the high schoolers have to deal with.
Do you sense that the initiative is really getting at that community pride and connectivity and again, kind of bringing the county together?
Absolutely. I think a big part of any quality of place is the quality of the people and the connections that the people have. In creating those connections, whether it's through leaving a little rock with a picture for someone to pick up, or leaving a Post-it, or having a pumpkin race down your street, it doesn't matter. It brings people together. It gives them an opportunity to connect with their neighbors, talk to their neighbors, and really identify with their place.
You're county commissioner. Do you sense, is there political buy-in? I mean, are people really getting behind the initiative?
It's been really exciting. I've not seen anything like this anywhere else, where the mayors and the councils are really willing to work with each other on a variety of projects, whether it's infrastructure, random meetings that need to happen to make that collaboration really affect the whole county, and then make us stronger to support the regionalism movement.
Do you sense there's been maybe a tipping point, so to speak, in terms of momentum in the community getting behind these projects and some of these initiatives like Vibrant Communities?
So yes, absolutely. This is probably the first time I've lived in this region my entire life, and this is the first time that I have really felt that this change is occurring, where we're having conversations, we're sitting around the table, we're sharing stories with each other, and we're working towards goals that we've all agreed on. And so it's probably the best time for our region, our South Bend Elkhart region, to be able to show that we're ready to work together. We have rolled up our sleeves and we are working hard with each other. And it's the most exciting time I can ever remember.
Very good. Diana Lawson, the CEO of the Elkhart County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Elkhart County Commissioner Susie Wyrick. Thank you both very much.
And finally, with historic growth happening in Elkhart, what opportunities and challenges will the next few years bring in areas including economy, infrastructure, and arts and culture? Our special panel of insiders includes Elkhart Mayor Tim Neese, Community Foundation of Elkhart County President Pete McCown, and Insight Strategic Concepts President Shelley Moore.
Mayor, I'll start with you. We've been talking a lot about individual big projects, the River District and other big projects in and around Elkhart. Give us your take on economic activity and the economy in Elkhart, because I know there's been a lot of activity here in the last couple of years.
The economy is very good. It's actually at an all-time high. In 2017, we saw approximately $144 million in investment, or it was existing businesses that wanted to expand, and we're on pace right now to exceed 2017.
Wow. What's driving it, do you think?
Well, I think it's about, this is a good city and good county to live in. We have a lot going for us, even as we've talked about previously in the 10 years prior to now, when we were seeing a decline in the economy. Businesses remained. Businesses were not going to be leaving. They wanted to weather the storm. And so I think when we have good times here, they're extremely good and competitive.
Shelley, as you look at kind of, again, some of the reasons behind the resurgence, so we were talking off camera about the public-private partnership that is really formed and is driving that. So it's not just one or the other, it's a partnership that is formed.
Absolutely. The Community Foundation has really driven from dating back to the Aquatic Center. When we had a crisis of a YMCA that had closed, and we really needed to pull together a group of people on both the private and public pieces that would make it happen, and it happened. And since we have the city engaged in $30 million of investment, we have the River District with an estimated $300 million of investment, and it really doesn't stop there. With industrial revitalization projects and things like that, all of those really being driven ultimately by the private sector.
So do you think the Aquatic Center can be that spark in downtown Elkhart?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because we traveled around to a number of cities throughout the country, and it seems to be the formula that it starts with something sports related. We've seen that in a lot of communities. So yeah, I mean, if you can imagine this place of wellness where people are able to go work out, have a common space to gather along the river and the parks that are there. But then they're living there. I mean, we know that there's a demand for housing with the amount of people that are commuting and not really living here. So we're immediately off the bat in the next 3 to 5 years trying to get 1,000 units of rented housing immediately surrounding the Aquatic Center.
Talk about the engagement and what the foundation is doing to help drive the economy. And I know you're a facilitator, convener, if you will, to get things happening.
That's the way we see our contribution to all of this work. So the local economic development organization in the city and the various not-for-profit organizations, they're doing their thing and they've got great ideas. And often the question becomes, who's involved and how are we going to pay for this? And we have the privilege of adding both human capital as well as financial capital to make good ideas occur. I would say, Shelley, I think that the Aquatic Center plays this role, and no question that sports-related activity and amenity is important. But I would actually argue that the renovation of the Lerner Theater 8 or 10 years ago and the construction of the Indiana University Elkhart campus both set the stage, and that this Aquatic Center will be a critical complement to that. I've talked about the theater being the living room and the Aquatic Center being the rec room or the family room of a holistic home.
Shelley talked about diversification in the economy. Lots of communities are facing that here. Focus on certainly on RV, manufacturing. How important and what's being done to really look at diversifying in some other areas like the life sciences and some of those areas?
Of the top 18 core industries, 17 of them are RV related. And of course, in the past, we've had pharmaceuticals, band instruments, manufactured housing, now RVs, and there's this tendency for them to kind of come and go, as a just large phase of the economy. Versus now what we're wanting to do, and this is part of the intangible, I think, aspect of things as well. I like to imagine that if we're doing a really good job at economic development, we work with our local current businesses. We take a look at the skills that are really needed for those jobs and the skills that our workforce has, and we identify those competencies. And then we develop career paths where people can start at one place and they can evolve to another. And then we take those competencies and we begin to identify the other industries that those competencies easily translate to.
Have a question from the audience?
Yes, hi, my name is Terry Mark, and I have 2 daughters who are in high school and will soon be graduating, and I would love for them to make their careers here. So how would you sell my daughters on what Elkhart County has?
If we think regionally, it's this community of 500,000 people with a world-class research university that it allows us that opportunity to be engaged with Notre Dame. And it has all the arts and culture, but it has none of the inconvenience of when I lived in Los Angeles and New York, where it took me an hour and a half and I had to spend $1.8 million to buy a home that looks like the home that I live in today for a fifth of that price. So this community has all of the best features of a large city, and it has all the convenience of a small town.
Very good. Great question. Mayor, I'll give you the last word. As you look ahead, challenges, opportunities, the momentum you see building now?
I do. I think the opportunity and the options for the city of Elkhart are just simply limitless. We're not going to give up. We're going to continue to set the bar higher. We want to have the roughly 10,000 jobs that we can't get filled right now because we have a labor shortage filled. And I think we're just going to continue to see more business expansion as well as new businesses coming to the city of Elkhart and Elkhart County.
All right, very good. Elkhart Mayor Tim Neese, also Shelley Moore, the founder and president of Insight Strategic Concepts. Pete McCown is the president of the Community Foundation of Elkhart County. Thank you, one and all, for being here.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.